President Obama is meeting another very important world leader later this week in California, Chinese President Xi Jinping. This meeting is going to happen amid a lot of concern about China's cyber attacks, not only on the U.S. government, but on our private industry, too. American Enterprise Institute scholar John Bolton is going to stay with us now. John, how useful are these summits to begin with?
Well, I think they serve a certain minimal purpose, is that the president needs to know who his counterparts are. It's a lot easier to deal in a crisis situation if you've met and talked to people in advance of a crisis. And I think there are some issues that need to be raised here. The cyber warfare issue is very real, but it's only a manifestation of a larger problem. You know, I think our government and I think our business community largely believe that China is engaged in what some call a peaceful rise, and that it will be a
my favorite false phrase.
Exactly, a responsible stakeholder in world affairs. I think that's a possible scenario, but not even the most likely scenario. And the cyber warfare that China has been waging, as you rightly say, both against American companies and against the American government, is a manifestation. This is a pretty strange peaceful rise, if that's what it is.
But John, is it a step forward that at least we're talking about this now, that Washington seems to have woken up to this problem, both in the White House and in Congress?
I think that is a step forward. I think we're way behind in the cyber world, both on defense and on offense. But, you know, the Chinese have already said, hey, we're not hacking into any American corporation. So the most likely outcome is this will be a dialogue of the deaf. What I worry about, though, given we've also seen the announcement of lower level bilateral talks on cyber warfare, is, you know, those naive Americans are going to go in and say, well, we've experienced this, we've experienced that. We're telling the Chinese what we know about how successful their hacking attacks are, and that helps them make their attacks more difficult to detect and more sophisticated. The Chinese have a strategy here. I don't think we have a strategy at all.
We don't have a, well, that isn't encouraging. Xi Jinping has been very close to the People's Liberation Army, this leader of China, the president's going to meet. You know, how do you read his statements that he wants what he calls a new power relationship with Washington?
Well, I think this is a manifestation of increasing Chinese confidence that they are prepared now to play on the world stage. They're not simply a regional power. I think this has come more quickly than many China hands thought would happen. But if you look just what you can read in the newspaper on a daily basis to the really belligerent actions they're taking in the South China Sea, the implications of the territorial disputes there on vital sea lanes, on undersea minerals, how it affects the dispute with Japan and the East China Sea.
Well, that's just it, John, right? This isn't just about the South China Sea. This is something that stretches all the way from the very southern part of Southeast Asia all the way up to Japan and North Korea.
Exactly. At a time when the American Navy is shrinking, when our ability to control events in the Western Pacific is lower than it's been since World War II, and yet we have an administration that wants to talk to China about currency valuation seemingly as its highest priority.
And climate change, John.
And no doubt climate change. And I'm sure the Chinese will cheer us with their reaction on coal-burning power plants. You know, this is why we need a president who pays attention to international affairs, because even our domestic economy rests critically on something of a stable international world order. And we're not in a position, as we have not been for some years now, to help provide that stability.
So is it true to say it's better to be feared than to be loved? And
Absolutely.
That's where this administration has gone wrong?
That isn't even close in my book. And the administration has never understood that, whether it's retreating from the war on terror, seeing our defense budget cut dramatically and not really caring about it, or acting as though China's sort of a big Switzerland. It's just not going to work for the United States over the long term.
China, it's not Switzerland. Former UN ambassador and American Enterprise Institute scholar John Bolton, thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you, Mary.